Hey everyone, and welcome back. My name is Sam.
And I'm Melissa.
I was raised in a family with 4 moms and 35 kids. We were members of the FLDS Church, which is a polygamous group run by their prophet Warren Jeffs, who is now serving a life sentence in prison.
I was raised mainstream LDS in Utah. Sam and I have been married for 10 years and have 2 awesome kids.
Yes, we do. Today we are going to be discussing Scientology and comparing it to the FLDS Church.
Yes, we've had a lot of you for a lot of years ask us to review Scientology, to do comparison between it, and even within mainstream Mormonism, compare some things. But honestly, we don't know much about it. We haven't really heard that much about it. And when I went to try to find a video that we could react to, something that would give us a little bit of insight, I know there's lots of documentaries and we'll probably review some of those as well in the next couple weeks. But I was like, I need to just find like the basics of Scientology. It was so hard to find.
Right. And we're hoping to have someone on as an interview as well to discuss more in depth. But for now, we wanted to just get an intro to what is this and be able to skim the surface and compare it to our experiences.
Yes. So this video that I found, it's a 60 minutes. It's actually from Australia. But when I started watching it, I was like, okay, this at least gives through the perspective. I believe it's the niece of the head of the Scientology church. And she talks about what it's like growing up a little bit of the theology, kind of just, we understand this is barely scratching the surface, but we kind of need something to barely scratch the surface. An intro before we wanted to watch any of these other big documentaries, or hopefully very soon have somebody on that has left Scientology that we can do more notes. So we are going to get into this video and we'll just kind of pause so that we can compare a little bit of what her experience was to what our experiences were. Here we go.
Yep.
Welcome back. Over the years, we've heard a lot about the Church of Scientology. It's high profile, bolstered by Hollywood A-listers.
Okay, we're like 8 seconds in, I know, but...
Already so much to say.
Okay, it's interesting though that with the A-listers, when she mentions A-listers and you hear of the people from Hollywood, and they, like which people are Scientologists, right? And I feel like most of the actors, you don't know what their religious beliefs are, but you always know if they're Scientologists, and you always hear if they're LDS or Mormon. Like those are 2 religions.
At least we do. In our world, we always hear.
That's true. Okay, well, leave in the comments if you feel like you always hear, oh, that person's a Scientologist or that person's a Mormon. I feel like those are 2 religions that you always hear people talk about or say like, oh, did you know that star is Mormon? Like,
and maybe that's everyone that does, right? Maybe everyone discusses and talks about that, because I think the majority of the world will look at Scientology and look at Mormonism and say those are some pretty extreme beliefs.
Yeah.
And so for that reason, it comes to light and people discuss it. I mean, I've been hearing since as long as I can remember, Tom Cruise and Scientology. Like when someone, if a few years ago, if someone had asked me, do you know what Scientology is? I would have said, oh, that's the Tom Cruise thing, right?
Yeah, that's the religion Tom Cruise.
It just relate, those two just correlate, yeah.
But then you have like Mitt Romney. Oh wait, he was the politician that was Mormon, right?
Right, yeah.
Like there's people where the religion defines the person so strongly when they're A-listers. And so I just thought that was interesting.
But what goes on behind the walls of this religion isn't always glamorous. The church is led by David Muscavage, a man who usually prefers to stay out of the public eye. But now his niece has shone a bright, unwelcome light upon the church and its behaviour. Jenna Muscavage Hill spent more than 20 years in the church with her uncle. She told her story to Liz Hayes.
There's not an exact criteria for evil, but I would definitely say, somebody who makes rules that thousands and thousands of people can't have children and runs a church where there's child labor, forced and coerced abortions, where people are separated from their family. If that's not evil, then what is,
Are we talking about Scientology or the FLDS?
Oh my word.
Those are exact word for word things that I would say and that other people would say that have left the FLDS church.
Yeah, I hope she goes into more depth because, separation of families and child labor.
And not allowing people to have children.
Yeah, being able to dictate whether people could have children or not, that's eerily similar to the FLDS.
Sheesh.
29-year-old Jenna Muscavage Hill is talking about the Church of Scientology.
Well, thank you very much.
Run by her own uncle, David Muscavage.
It's just a game of power and control. it strips away your individuality and your conscience and just makes you do whatever their bidding is. People are either bad or good. They're either for Scientology or against Scientology.
Well, what...
Now, you could speak on that as well.
Yeah, no, I feel like that's something that definitely more extreme in the FLDS, but people either being good, if you're doing the right things, growing up in the mainstream LDS even, you know, there was very specific rules and very specific things to follow. And that's one of the things that I loved as a kid because I was a checklist type of person, but it's very much if you do this, this, and this, and this, you're good. If you do this, this, and this, and this, then you're bad. Right. Or you need to repent, right? Which is just another way of saying you were bad and you need to be punished. So it's very much so there's not gray, really, the way I was raised.
And the last thing she said here, you're either for it or you're against it. That's something that we were both taught growing up, that you can't just be okay with it. You either have to be for it or you have to be actively against it. And that's something that's taught. And that's why people that are active in these churches believe that those that have left are against them and that they are going to fight against the church in some way or another. That's just what is expected.
And all of Mormonism has a history of persecution, right? From the times of Joseph Smith, of people being run out of entire cities or states. So I think that persecution has also bled into even times when you're not really being persecuted. It's still like, oh, they're against us. People are against us. They're mean to us, or kind of like a little bit of a persecution complex, not because there hasn't been persecution, but now we just would grow up feeling like people were always against our religious beliefs.
And for the FLDS, instead of saying, oh, people are looking into us because the leader of the church is a pedophile and has done all of these horrendous things that has put him in prison and is now serving a life sentence, maybe even more than one life sentence, they don't think of it as that. They think of it as, oh, these people are just trying to fight against God's church.
Yeah.
You know,
you're either with them or against them.
What's the difference between Scientology and a cult?
I can't think of any.
Scientology established its first church here in Los Angeles in 1954. It's always attracted controversy, not the least because its creator, the late L. Ron Hubbard, was a science fiction writer with, let's say, some interesting views. But over the years, the church has been accused of, at best, bizarre behaviour and, at worst, criminal conduct. Now, what Jenna Muscavage Hill, the church leader's niece, has to say, casts yet another very dark shadow over the church.
Before she goes into this, did you notice the top of their church building had what almost looked like a cross, but I don't believe that they believe in Jesus Christ.
It was a uniquely shaped cross. I honestly don't know if they believe in Jesus Christ or not.
I watched another video. It wasn't the best one to react to, but I don't believe that they do. And so that's why I was a little bit confused, but it didn't look like a regular Christian cross either. So I'm curious why they would have that at the top of their building.
Well, that would separate the Mormonism churches from Scientology in a big way then, because all of Mormonism very strongly does believe that Jesus Christ is their Savior.
Yeah, so I guess maybe we'll find out in this one.
For most of her life, Scientology was all Jenna Muscavage Hill had ever known. From childhood, she lived in the inner sanctum of the church. Her parents and grandparents were Scientologists, and it was where she met her husband, Dallas. Church is first.
Right, before family, before friends, especially before yourself.
And that became clear, says Jenna, from early childhood. Her parents were part of the clergy, or Sea Org as they're called, and according to Jenna, spent long periods away from their children.
From when I was 4, I started only seeing them once a week. And then from when I was 12 until I was 18, I saw my mom twice. And my dad 4 times. And the majority of those times were for less than an hour.
Well, of course...
Whoa. Wow. Okay, this is interesting.
Yeah, the fact that her parents being clergy, although I will say like children being separated from their parents, that didn't happen as much in the regular like families of the FLDS when times were good, but it did happen on the ranch in Texas.
Yes, and it did happen in Short Creek as well, mostly after Warren Jeffs took over. But me growing up, it was not like that. I would see my parents, my mother I would see around all the time if I was home, and my father would be home most every night.
Yeah, but we've had some of Warren Jeffs' children on before, and I think that it was Jaden Jeffs who had talked about the fact that there were caretakers over certain age groups of children, and then they would have specifically like 1 hour a day or 2 hours a day to get to spend with their mothers, and then they would be taken away again to go do their activities because the moms each had their own responsibilities and were in charge of the babies. So it kind of reminds me of that a little bit. Yeah. And where she says that her parents and her were in the clergy or in some type of church leadership, it might have been more similar to the way Warren Jeffs' family was operating.
Right. That makes sense. But sheesh, what were they doing?
Yeah.
This is very
and it doesn't sound very family centric. Whereas like the FLDS always claimed to be all about families, even though they didn't always show it that way, especially Warren Jeffs with separation of families, but they always claimed to be family centric.
It was in their doctrine that it was all about the family.
Yeah.
And then they would just twist it to be, it's all about eternal family. And then that opens the door to do whatever happens in this life doesn't really matter because it's about the eternity and the family after this life, you know? So there's always a way to spin it.
So sad though.
From an outsider's perspective, I'd be saying, well, why weren't your parents trying to contact you?
Yeah.
It's hard, like it's this whole mind control business. To see that that was a bad situation, they would have to see their whole world crumbling down.
When she was 6, Jenna was sent here, to the ranch, a Scientology boarding school just outside of Los Angeles.
They even called it the ranch.
Man.
Now it's a boarding school. It's not this supposed build up the kingdom of Zion, type place. Yeah. At least they haven't said so yet. So it's a different idea, but still sending people away to a place that they call a ranch is very similar to the ranch in El Dorado, Texas.
Yeah, I feel like I'm never going to be able to trust the word ranch. Like, I'm like, oh my gosh, like all ranches are bad and have diabolical reasons.
Hopefully not all ranches.
Hopefully. And maybe hers wasn't either. We'll see.
It's run like a military type school. Everything we did was very regimented. We did manual labor for 35 hours a week, and it was anything from like digging ditches for irrigation to hauling wheelbarrows full of gravel to make cactus gardens to hauling rocks to make rock walls, to weeding for fire breakers, things like that.
It sounds just like
a lot of
the ranch in Texas.
Manual labor, yeah.
A lot of manual labor, keeping everyone busy.
Interesting that she says that they were there for school, yet all she talked about was manual labor.
Yeah, doing manual labor for 35 hours a week. So I wonder how much schooling did they really get, right?
Yeah.
And it was here that Jenna says that she signed away her heart and soul. At just 7 years of age, she signed a contract committing her to 1 billion years with the church.
What?
Did you know what you were signing?
I mean, I knew that it was 1 billion years, but it was more, and I knew that that's what my parents did, but it was more that I didn't know that I had any other option, you know?
Well, a 7-year-old signing a billion-year contract sounds outrageous.
Right, yeah, but it did bind me emotionally and mentally, and I wanted to be loyal and keep that contract. I never thought that I ever wouldn't.
Okay, I need to see one of these contracts.
Okay.
Like, what would happen if they broke the contract?
So here's the thing, though. So the first gut reaction when you hear that is like, 1 billion years, that's absurd. Like, that's so crazy. And then my next thought.
Oh, I know where this is going.
The next thought is, okay, well, at 8, I got baptized and signed an eternal contract. Like, I didn't sign something, but I vowed an eternal covenant. But I don't know why the word, and it's probably just because the way I was raised. So leave in the comments if you feel like there's something that sounds so odd about a billion years. And when you hear the word eternity, it sounds more pleasant to me. Like the idea that I committed to an eternity of being a disciple of Jesus Christ doesn't sound as creepy to me personally as I signed a contract for 1 billion years.
Right. But not only as a disciple of Jesus Christ, but also as a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints.
Exactly.
Which was not necessarily...
Loyalty to that church.
You didn't sign a contract, though. So that is a difference here. She, at 7 years old, had to sign something, which would never stand up in any court because she was 7 years old. So that's like whatever. I think it was just a way to...
I think it's symbolic, probably.
It's symbolic and probably a way to create this fear that I have to do this now because I signed.
Which is what
which is very similar to baptism in the Mormonism churches, yes.
Yeah. And it's the same in the FLDS. They get baptized at the age of 8. So her being 7 sounds so young again, but at 8 I felt completely ready and had to have my own personal interview with the bishop to go and get baptized and become a member, like you said, of the church for eternity. So sometimes I have to take a step back and be like, okay, it sounds weird because of the wordage they're using, which I'm not used to. But then here's like that comparison. It's like, okay, that's actually not any different. Or heck, at least it's 1 billion years instead of all of eternity. But I feel like eternity sounds nicer.
Yeah.
Leave below. Does eternity sound nicer? I think it does.
It does to us because that's the way we were raised to believe that it was this beautiful opportunity. But she also mentioned that it's what her parents did, so she knew what it meant, that it was 1 billion years, and she was excited and happy to do it. That's also very common. Yeah. I was super excited to get baptized at 8 years old into the FLDS church because my parents had talked to me about how amazing it is and how symbolic and how important and how you need to be prepared and that you are going to be completely washed clean of all of your sins. And because of the way I was raised, I thought I was a super sinful person at age eight because of like the constant teachings of being perfect always.
Yeah.
So the idea of being washed clean and then being able to be a disciple of Jesus Christ for the rest of my life was a really exciting thing at that age.
Yeah, it's exciting. In that aspect, it's exciting because everybody's going to be so proud of you for doing it. You know, friends, family. We've recently attended a couple different baptisms of nieces and nephews, and it is a big celebration in the family when you're taking that step forward in the religion that you're raised in, right? So, yeah, I'm not surprised at all that at 7, like she said, that she never thought that she would ever not want to continue with that contract. But at 7 and 8 years old, how can you sign on for 1 billion years or eternity? Okay, the 1 billion years is just getting to me, but eternity's longer. Like the idea of being stuck with anything, like 1 billion years is so long. Yeah. Eternity's longer. Oh, eternity's longer than that.
Yeah. That's yeah, you don't really think about eternity as a negative thing though.
No, and I don't think of eternity as actual time.
Right.
Does that make sense? That doesn't make sense, guys, but that's how it works in my head. It's like that's not an actual amount of time.
Right. Yeah.
Oh, man, this is messing with my mind.
A 1 billion year contract?
Yeah, when I was 18 and joined the Sea Org, I signed.
And you didn't hesitate?
No, at first I had someone yelling at my face and telling me I was evil for not signing it because I wanted to be an actor and to go off and do normal stuff. So, yeah, it took about a few months of constantly interrogating me and pressuring me and telling me that's the greatest thing in the world.
Interesting. And did he say he was 18?
He was 18.
So he joined
must not have
later.
been raised in it, yeah.
Okay. Interesting. But when he was raised, then he signed the contract. So once again, very similar to the idea of baptism in these other churches.
Yeah.
Instead of signing a contract, you're being baptized.
Being baptized. I'm very curious if signing the contract at 18, though, if there is some type of legality to it. Like if they actually are committing, like if it's actual legal paperwork or if it's all symbolic.
Yeah.
I need to find that out. So many things. I need to be writing this down.
Yeah.
75 million years ago, the galaxy was ruled by a tyrant named Zeno. One day, Zenu rounded up various wrongdoers and imprisoned them in volcanoes on Earth.
Do you think this is like the church's marketing material, or is this somebody spoofing it?
Far, far away.
This has to be somebody spoofing it.
I sure hope so.
I watched a couple things from the Scientology YouTube page, and it gave me like very normal like church marketing vibes. Not this, but
unless this is a video that only church members within the inner circle watch.
Yeah. Okay.
Because think of it as of like a ritual, a ceremony that they have.
Or like a temple video that you don't know until you go in, right?
Exactly.
Okay.
I don't know. We've never seen this before, guys. We're speculating here. We should probably just watch and see.
Yeah, sorry. Imprison them in volcanoes on Earth.
Which was then called Tigiak.
This is the world according to church founder L. Ron Hubbard.
Hydrogen bombs were dropped on them. Then their spirits, called Thetans, were trapped in humans. And that is the cause of all our sufferings. Only through Scientology can our Thetans be cleared.
Well, that is completely different than all of Christianity. So that's a whole different...
Okay, so this is, I can see, and obviously by the name Scientology, obviously science, I can see why they maybe wouldn't believe in God the way that other churches do, and Jesus Christ and all of that. So it's making a lot of sense to me why they would think differently. But whoa, I had never heard of this idea before.
No.
Do you ever think that you might be quite mad?
Oh, yes. The one man in the world who never believes he's mad is a madman.
Hubbard died in 1986, but his teachings, based seemingly on a mix of science fiction and psychoanalysis, continues today.
We had pictures of him in every room, pretty much. You know, we had to clap to his picture at the end of every day, several times a day, even.
Okay, that's Warren Jeffs. Pictures of Warren Jeffs everywhere, as almost, we were told we weren't supposed to worship any man, but in a roundabout way, they were worshiping him.
Yeah,
they never, in the FLDS church, we never were told to pray to the prophet.
No.
That was never a thing. We were supposed to pray to God, but the amount of pictures of the prophet and the prophets before him in the homes was a lot, and not pictures of Jesus Christ. It was pictures of the prophets.
And this is where it's different in the LDS, because in mainstream LDS, a typical LDS home will have lots of pictures of Jesus Christ. Mm-hmm. And then some homes, depending on the home, you'll have pictures of prophets, but typically it's of like Joseph Smith or like founding prophets. Sometimes the current prophet, but it's not as common. You're not going to have a picture of like the current prophet in every room by any means. It's normally most houses are just pictures of Christ or the temples in every single room. And maybe here and there you'll see some of the prophets, but it's not as heavily centric of having lots of pictures of the prophets.
But to clap to him each day or a couple times throughout the day, like I wonder what that is.
Mm-hmm.
Since its inception, Scientology has come under intense scrutiny, but never more so than now, after a number of former church members have made serious allegations of abuse and mistreatment.
You're not encouraged to have children, are you? Or are you banned from having children?
Well, regular Scientologists are allowed to have children, but members of the Sea Org are not allowed to have children.
And if you fell pregnant, what would happen?
Many people are coerced into having abortions, guilted into it, told that, well, you're not following your billion-year contract, you're betraying us.
Because that's a serious allegation to make, that you're encouraged or made to think that an abortion is an appropriate action.
It is serious, but it's completely true. It's like many people, many friends of mine, I've even seen it happen in some cases. So yes, it's very serious, but it's completely the truth.
Yeah, that's something that within all of Mormonism, abortion is definitely discouraged. And it's something that the LDS church, mainstream LDS church, even had an adoption agency for a long time. And the idea of like continuing to grow your family is very, very important and is believed to be like a core belief of our purpose here on earth is to have families.
Exactly. The opposite of abortion would be encouraged.
Yeah, exactly. And in the FLDS, it's even more extreme because they don't allow you to have contraception.
Right. No contraception, no preventing anything, until Warren Jeffs, of course, told the husbands and wives not to touch each other. Then, that was its own thing. But when I was living out there, the families were very large. Mm-hmm. The women were having a lot of children. And then, of course, it was polygamy. So the families were just very, very large.
Yeah, but family is like a central key tenet. I don't think any church within Mormonism would ever discourage having family.
Right.
For those who broke any of the church rules, punishment could take many forms. Dallas claims it meant being locked in the basement of this building.
Whoa.
We had premarital sex and we got in trouble, and I was in the basement for 2 weeks and told that if I didn't cooperate, I'd never see Jen again and I'd never see my parents again.
The church.
Whoa.
Wow.
I mean, again, with the FLDS, though, I'm like, Warren Jeffs was separating people and putting them into like houses of repentance, hiding them away and making them be repentant and think about what they've done in solitude.
In some cases, a lot longer than 2 weeks as well.
Yeah.
But that idea is the same thing.
The church has categorically denied Dallas's allegations.
Yeah, of course they have.
Yeah.
Scientology owes much of its high profile to Hollywood and a number of its stars who have embraced the church, including Tom Cruise.
I do what I can. And I do it the way I do everything. There's nothing part of the way for me. It's just...
Cruz and David Muscavage, the church leader, are said to be close friends. But according to Dallas, who worked at the Scientology Celebrity Center, there had, at one time, been some concerns.
Tom Cruise is, for many, the biggest name in the church. When you were there, Dallas, so you were aware that Nicole Kidman had some influence on how he was being viewed.
Well, yeah, when I was at the celebrity church, he wasn't around. He wasn't on services, and I was told from them that it was because Nicole Kidman was an influence on him.
And not a good one.
And not a good one.
Is it possible for Tom Cruise to have a partner and not, who's not a participant of the church and stay in the church?
As a Scientologist, you believe that Scientology is going to save that person. So if you really love someone, there's almost no chance that you wouldn't do everything you could to make them into a Scientologist.
That's very true within mainstream Mormonism, in the sense that because going to the temple, which is, you spend your whole life from the time you're little being told the covenant path and how important it is to be able to make those covenants inside the temple in order to have your family be sealed for eternity and to be able to be the happiest that you can be. And they truly do believe that you can never be as happy as what you would be inside the church. Right. And so, like she was saying, that's why they send out missionaries worldwide. It's such a deep, true belief that people will be happier if they join the LDS church. And so they sincerely, like she said, if you think this is the only way to truly be saved, to truly be happy, why wouldn't you want to share that with everybody that you love, or share it with any stranger and just try to make anybody's life better and happier?
Right. This was not the case in the FLDS church, because not only were you not allowed to date people that were outside of the church, you weren't allowed to date at all. So you were assigned to who you were going to marry and when. And of course, it was always someone within the church already.
And you guys didn't have missionaries either trying to go convert strangers to make the strangers happy either.
on rare occasion, there were people that did join the FLDS church, but it wasn't because missionaries were out there trying to convert them to the church. It was just they found it in a roundabout way, or saw something and felt that they wanted to be a part of it. But yes, missionaries were not a thing.
Yeah.
Having been born and bred a Scientologist and as the niece of David Muscavage, any thoughts of leaving were always going to be a challenge for Jenna. But the idea took seed when the church sent Jenna and Dallas to work in Australia.
That was a turning point, you say, for both of you.
Yeah.
Yes.
Why?
Because I had never been around non-Scientologists in my life before. So it was an interesting chance to see that, no, not everyone is a Scientologist, not everyone is in love with Scientology, and they were actually kind of normal and pretty cool. And all of a sudden you could see everything for what it was, how controlled it was.
Wow. Now that definitely speaks true to me specifically, because being raised in this bubble that was the FLDS church, when I finally was old enough to get out and see more of the world and meet people that at first I was afraid to talk to, but then when I became more open to talking with outsiders, very quickly I realized that, oh, there is more to this world than just the FLDS church, and everyone in this world isn't wishing that they could be a part of the FLDS church as I assumed they would be if they only knew what I knew, right? So it was a big wake-up call to me, as it was for her.
The decision to leave the church caused Dallas and Jenna enormous heartache. They claim they were pressured to stay, with threats they would lose all contact with their families. Jenna says she considered suicide.
You did stand on a ledge and tell them you would jump.
Mm-hmm.
That's a fairly extreme position to take.
That was the only option I had. I mean, they had taken everything else away from me. They'd taken away my family. They'd moved me away from my friends so many times. Now they were taking Dallas away. What else could I do? All I knew is that the church feared bad publicity.
It seems to me it still hurts you to this day.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Tough. Sorry.
It's okay.
Clearly, it was a terrible time.
Yeah, I mean, there's, who knows what would have happened. That's the scary thing, is they have so much control and so much mind control over you that you just are at their whim.
The fact that if they were to leave, they were going to lose all contact with their family is definitely...
That's up the FLDS alley for sure. Yeah. Thankfully, in the mainstream LDS church, they do, for those that leave the church, there are some stories, of course, that the family
chooses it, but it's not...
It's not church policy by any means, but there are relationships that are ruined because someone chooses to leave the church. But in most cases, I would say, within the mainstream church, especially nowadays, if someone leaves, they still keep a close connection with their family. Thankfully, it seems to be that way.
And again, it's not the church; it's family by family, depending on how they take it, how somebody leaves. I mean, it's so personal, but it's not the church saying if somebody leaves, you have to cut off connection with them. The same way it is with Scientology, the same way it is with the FLDS, where like Sam's family would get in trouble with the church for talking to him or letting him be a part of family activities or things like that. So, and sadly, a lot of people who leave the FLDS also have, there's high suicide rates for people who leave the FLDS because, like she said, if everything is taken away from you, if your family, your friends, your community, a lot of times in the FLDS, it's their jobs as well, their homes, they literally lose everything and have nobody in this big bad world that they've been taught to fear. It can leave people really feeling helpless.
Yeah, to the point where they just have no control over their actions almost, because they just feel so lost and helpless and sad and empty. And also on top of all of that, we were taught growing up that even if you went to the lowest degree of glory, the bottom of heaven, which was where the bad people go, even if you went there, then it would be way beyond what we can even comprehend as far as beauty and glory compared to this earth.
Yeah.
So with that in their mind, they might just be thinking, well, better to be somewhere, better than whatever I'm dealing with right now, and just put an end to it, right? So, and I don't know if that's what's going through their mind, but I do know that's what we were taught.
Yeah.
So it's just very sad.
And if anybody is struggling with that, we do have the hotline for holding out help below, and there are a lot of resources to help people get out of those dark places. So please reach out for help and realize that there's a lot of people who care and are there to support you now, here in this life. And then it doesn't have to all be about the next life.
Yeah. Also, really quick, it showed another picture of what looks kind of like a cross.
Yeah.
I think it's meant to be more of like a star.
Oh,
but
that would make more sense.
It's weird because it has the longer bottom to look similar to a cross, but then with the other shapes and points, it looks like it could be potentially a star. Someone, if you know, please comment below.
Let us know.
Let us know. Yeah.
Castle Canyon School was a big property. It was beautiful. It was a nice place for kids to grow up.
The church has denied all of Jenna's allegations, describing them as tabloid tales which should be taken with a grain of salt. And it has set up a website to refute her claims about the ranch.
I love the experience. It was very heartwarming.
I mean, this is amazing. Like, who gets an experience of working on a farm these days?
Well, of course, the church has declared that you're a liar.
Mm-hmm.
Are you a liar?
No, everything I'm saying is completely true. The church is the liars, you know? I mean, there's so many stories like mine out there that corroborate each other and that they just can't keep a handle on it anymore.
You are accused of exploiting your uncle's name.
Mm-hmm.
You're cashing in on being a Muscavage.
Right. I mean, it's just like what I'm saying is the truth. If by nature of me having his name brings more attention to it, then awesome, because it should.
Jenna and Dallas.
Well, like she said, it gives her the position of being able to bring more awareness to it. I think the same thing happens whenever one of Warren Jeff's children leave and are able to tell what their stories. You know, everybody's stories are valuable and can like offer insights. But when you have the prophets' children coming forward saying these things, it does add that extra layer of validity to the outside world. And the people within might be like, oh, you're exploiting it, you're lying, you're trying to exploit the name. But to the rest of the world, it adds validity to their story that they were part of that inside group.
Right. For those that are within the FLDS church still, they would look at that person that was a part of the Jeffs family that then left and is now talking about it as that much worse than anyone else that left. They were so privileged. They had so much. They were so blessed to be a part of this great family. So now to be the ones going against the church, just, I mean, the worst of the worst.
And I'm sure that's the same with her as well.
Now live in Southern California, and Jenna has written a book about her time in the church.
I feel like now, finally, I feel like I know myself, you know, I have my own family, I know what I want.
They're parents to children Archie and Winnie, and are now living the life they say they almost lost.
We're all different, we all have something to give, and so to me, the fact that Scientology takes away the chance for people to live their lives and be who they are, to me, that's what makes it dangerous. It's like a crime against humanity, against life itself.
Yeah, that's such a good way to put it. Anytime any organization is taking away people's opportunity to be authentically who they are and make decisions for themselves, it's always a dangerous path.
Right, definitely. Well, I'm just glad that there are people like her that are willing to come forward, because I do know, based on personal experience and based on listening to so many other people share their experiences, that it can be terrifying when someone or an organization has that kind of hold on your life. It's very, very terrifying to come forward and speak out, because you just, even today, even though I know so much more than I used to know, and I do not believe that the FLDS church is the one true church on this earth and the only way back to be with God again, still sometimes when I talk about it and say things that go against it, it just puts this very tight knot in my chest feeling because of the way that I was raised to believe in it so strongly. So I just want to say thank you to her and thank you to everyone that is willing to come forward when something is happening that is not right. I think people need a place to be able to share their story and bring awareness, because there may be so many other people within these organizations that are also in that position of fear, not wanting to leave, not wanting to speak up against it or about it, but with others doing so, it helps them have the courage.
Yeah, 100%. I now have like 1 million, maybe 1 billion more questions about Scientology.
The word billion has a different meaning now, doesn't it?
I am like, I'm shook. Okay. The word, now like, what? Anyway, I have a feeling that we're going to be doing probably at least a few more videos, because now this can of worms, I can say, is officially open.
Right.
And until I have at least some answers to my billions of questions, I think we're going to continue to dig in a little bit more. If you guys have a specific documentary, I know there's so many different documentaries, videos about Scientology. If you have one specific that you thought was really good, please leave it in the comments so that we can try to react to ones that you guys want to hear about, ones that have really good insight, because sometimes it's hard to go through and try to find the right video. So please let us know in the comments. Thank you all so much for watching and being here, and we'll talk to y'all soon.
Thank you all so much, and we look forward to talking with you soon.